Hello and welcome to iMobility. This is a place where I talk about future of energy, cities, mobility, and today I've chosen smart cities. Well, on hearing this, if you're going to ask me if the cities have been dumb all this while, well, my answer is a resounding, and I think rhetoric, yes. Think about this. Little Johnny wakes up at about 6 o'clock in the morning and the school bus comes to get him to school. As they're approaching school, they encounter a sea of other school buses, causing a jam down people's throats. Further, his daddy wakes up, and the first thing he does is goes and looks out the window. He's been trying different permutations and combinations of leaving home at a time when he encounters least traffic on the way. And he's never been successful at that. He's almost been doing this for a decade now. Later, his little sister wakes up, who's to be walked down to the school by her mother. They do so on this pavement, which has been partly encroached by the shopkeepers and partly by the vehicles. These vehicles have been adding at a rate of about 1,000 cars a day. And they walk down all the way to the school breathing bad quality of air. Well, welcome to megacities. The cities today don't just have to deal with carbon footprint, but also food footprint, garbage footprint, sewage footprint. The cities are bursting at seams. What will happen when this population will rise to about 9 billion people in 2050? What is it that could prevent the cities from seeing a massive heart attack? So I'm going to discuss a few things which might actually do that. The cities are going to move beyond being just brick and mortar, and the digital technologies will come to embed themselves in the cities of tomorrow. So in order to put things in perspective, I'd like to look at two other trends. Now, the industry, the so-called experts, have come to believe that no matter how US has grown, it stands at about 800 cars at 1,000 people. They cannot prevent developing countries from growing at the same pace. So they cannot go and tell them that for the sake of sustainability, for the sake of environment, buy lesser cars. And also, secondly, no matter how developed the public transportation network gets, we get the maglevs and bullet trains, we might be able to cut down on cars to a certain degree, but our societies would be largely car dependent. And so, the industry leaders are today trying to think, can we make the cars smarter? Well, the jams are going to happen, but can we make the cars intelligent enough that they can negotiate their ways out of those jams? Can they be the tools to unleash the productivity of the person sitting inside them? Can we introduce a degree of autonomy into the cars of tomorrow? So when all of this data, when the cars become data generating units and all of this data starts going to the cloud, and when all the things 50 billion devices actually come onto the internet and they start generating trillions of gigabytes of data and all of this starts going to the cloud, who's going to pay for that cloud? And that is where we're going to see a unique partnership of various industries with the technology companies. Think about this. When do you switch on your wiper? Of course, when it's raining. What if, when your wiper is on, your car could actually update your exact GPS location to the meteorological department so they know exactly which parts of the city are seeing rain at that particular point of time? What if you could be told of the empty parking space well in advance? Think about this. About 40% of traffic occurs because of people looking for parking spaces in dense urban city centers, and that is a research. So what if intelligence could be embedded into the infrastructure and through sensors you could know of the empty parking lots? That brings me to my next point, that cities are going to be the new clients. Like I said, the technology companies are now going to the cities and pitching them. So they're going and telling them that in return for billions of dollars worth of carbon emissions saved, tons of water saved, for lowering your waste footprint, why don't you embed our technology into your cities? And they're working on something which is called system of systems, which is how devices generating similar kinds of data could be clubbed together. And this data could then be mined for very useful insights. So they're working on how one event in a particular part of the city could actually trigger several others. For example, if an accident occurs on the airport road, it might lead to a late arrival of the people to the airport. Or if it occurs on the school road, it might result in similar consequences. So could cities be smart enough to actually maybe recommend you a real-time detour? Or maybe even before you set out on your journey, to inform you of what is happening in your city? Think about this. When 50 billion devices get onto the internet, you might have a smart meter at your home, which would actually tell you your consumption real time, so that you can be expected to change your behavior. And that takes me to my third point, which is democracy and not autocracy, by which I mean that the human in the entire loop is going to be a very important element. I'm now going to talk about a city which did something disastrous by excluding the human, by chucking the human out of the entire loop of city designing. That's the city of Mazda. It is known to be the dead city because it came up with an aggressive target of bringing down the carbon emissions, of being actually carbon neutral by 2015. Its decision to replace all the cars by autonomous human pods is, I think, an oversimplification of complex human behavior. And this is what Saskia Sassen, who is working on open source urbanization, has to say about it. She says, I think that the model of intelligent cities as propounded by technologies with telepresence efforts of Cisco Systems, a key ingredient, misses this opportunity to urbanize the technologies they mobilize. Secondly, the intelligent city concept, if too rigid, becomes a futile effort to eliminate the incompleteness of the city to get full control. This is a recipe for built-in obsoleteness. So, making cities oversmart may mean that the citizens would be dumb. And this could be analogous to making the cars autonomous, where the drivers might become dumb. So here's what Don Norman, who's a cognitive science professor and has written a book called Living with Complexity, says. Well, he imagines a situation, which is a very unique scenario, of his wife complaining about his driving style versus the car complaining about it. And he says, when my wife complains about my driving style, I can ask her why and then either agree with her or try to reassure her. I can also modify my driving so that she's not disturbed by it. But I can't have a conversation with my car. All the communication is one way. So he's essentially trying to say that two monologues don't make a dialogue. So sky is the limit. With 50 billion devices waiting to harness the power of Internet of Things, and only 1% of what can be connected being connected, with smart cities being a $19 trillion industry, I think the next generation entrepreneurs may move beyond thinking about the next big e-commerce idea to thinking about the next b-commerce one. With cities bustling with human activity and abundant energy, people commerce would be the centerpiece of designing smart cities. I'd leave the rest to your imagination. Thank you.